Welcome back to the OSM channel. Today I need to make a very important video talking about air circulation fans in wood burning appliances. So if you have a wood burning appliance such as a wood stove, zero clearance fireplace, which is what I have, an insert, or even a pellet stove that is equipped with an air circulation fan, you really should pay attention to this video. This is the air circulation fan out of my zero clearance fireplace, and what I found inside it is pretty shocking and is definitely a fire hazard. So first, let's talk about how this air circulation fan kind of works. So this is a crude side view of what my zero clearance fireplace looks like. So we have the firebox, that's where the fire actually burns. Obviously the chimney would go up through the unit, but in between the firebox and the exoskeleton of the zero clearance fireplace, there's a cavity, an air cavity. There's a lower grate and an upper grate. So this air cavity is designed to draw air in through the lower grate. The air circulation fan sits in the back corner and it moves air around the firebox. So that way we extract as much heat out of the fire burning in that firebox as possible. Now I remember when I had my zero clearance fireplace installed in 2019, there was a tremendous volume of air spitting out of that upper grate. I remember it blew out pretty much at a parallel line, and it also shot down to the floor. And I remember there was a significant amount of air moving in that direction, which is great because, you know, typically hot air rises. So if it shoots parallel and down to the cold floor, awesome. Create all that disturbance. It's good. But this year I really started to pay attention to the amount of air coming out of the upper grate. There really wasn't that much, very little. Now, I take really good care of my zero clearance fireplace. Every year I sweep the chimney, clean the inside of the firebox, scrape all that crud and creosote out of there. I inspect the air reburn tubes, clean them. I patch and repair any damaged fire brick. And also this cavity down here, this lower cavity, I stick my vacuum cleaner in there and I try and suck all the dust out of there. So in my mind, I was always doing a great job at maintaining this unit. So this year, I decided to pull out the fan and I was shocked with what I found. So first I'm going to play the video and do a voiceover as to how I pulled this air circulation fan out of the appliance. And then I'm going to focus on what I found inside this fan. We'll clean it, and then we'll try and reinstall it. So let's give you folks an idea of what it takes to get that air circulation fan out of there. Well, for my zero clearance fireplace, it was a bit of a challenge, but it was definitely doable. So you're fishing your hand back through this tight cavity. I didn't allow my unit to fully cool down. That's why I'm wearing my welding jacket and gloves. But the first thing I had to do was to remove this holding zip tie. And my theory is that that zip tie holds the fan in place during the shipping process. I ended up not reinstalling it because I felt like it wasn't needed. Next thing I did is I put a binder clip on the wire lead on the right side of the motor. There's two wires that go into the motor, but anybody in aviation and boating, red, right, return. So the binder clip signifies the right lead. So now I'm using my fireplace poker to try and lift this motor up out of its mount. So there's 4 pins that come up out of that metal tray there. And it's challenging because you have just enough clearance to kind of work it out of there. So you see I'm using the fireplace poker to leverage the unit up off of those pins. There are also 4 rubber grommets that help to dampen the vibrations between the motor and that lower holding tray. You can see all the dust buildup in there. I'll show you a real good picture here shortly. But there's another area that I didn't know existed. So there's a lower tray that is removable by way of 4 screws. You see I'm taking out the springs. But underneath that tray, look at all the dust and lint and hair buildup underneath there. I had no idea that there was a cavity down there, and that's something I'm definitely going to start cleaning once a year. But there's also a bit of a fire insulation panel underneath that metal panel, so, you know, all these hidden cavities, you really got to be careful and pay attention to these areas of your unit. Well, folks, I've been burning wood in my appliance for probably 5.5 years, and this is the buildup after 5.5 years. This is incredible. I'm embarrassed by this. I didn't know that this was an area that I really needed to pay attention to. This is a fire hazard. Furthermore, it definitely is reducing the efficiency of the appliance. if it can't circulate air around that cavity where the firebox is, you're not going to get as much heat out of your unit as what it should be able to put out. Look at that. Well, from now on, every year, I'm going to pull this air circulation fan out of here. Wow. Wow. Well, it's looking a lot better. Let's take this outside and blow it off with an air wand. I'm going to throw the respirator on though. That is quite the difference, isn't it? Now, unfortunately, the bearings are on their way out. I did take several pictures of the model number while I was in here. I'll insert those pictures now, but I think we're just gonna install her back in, let her ride. I even tried to hit the bearings with some silicone lubricant. Stood the thing up one way, hit the shaft, tried to let it bleed down into the bearings. Not really interested in taking it apart right now, but it's clean and it's no longer a fire hazard, so it'll be fun trying to reinstall this because there's kind of like some rubber grommets that sit on the legs here and it's tight, and Fireplace is a little warm. That's why I'm wearing my welding jacket right now, but no matter, we'll get her back in.